If you had just this year, just 2026 to finish out preparing, becoming more independent and sustainable, would you do it? If you knew that if something was going to go down by the next year, would you prepare? Would you try to become more independent? Well, today we're going to talk about what an AI billionaire just stated. Why the billionaires are building bunkers. Why they're trying to distance themselves from some of humanity. Why? Because of what they're seeing with robotics and AI. We're going to discuss that story. We're also going to see a video of some Kung Fu robots. Now, we think it's kind of cute and funny, but they actually said, and this billionaire will say this, and you'll have to wait till you hear it. It's unbelievable. He says, whoever is going to amass the robotic army will be the leaders of the world, and you won't be able to do anything about it. He said that technology is this close. We're going to discuss it. Also, we're going to talk about Ilhan Omar and how she has lost it. These Democrats have lost it. You know, she's yelling at the State of the Union. All of a sudden, we found out that some of the Democrats, including her, brought people who then got arrested, people who were kind of smuggled into the State of the Union who were illegals. What are the Democrats doing? And why in the world are the Republicans not doing anything about it? We call out fraud. J.D. Vance brings up a massive amount of fraud that is going to illegal immigrants and to these Democratic states. And yet, nothing is getting done. So we're going to talk about Ilhan Omar's story and who she brought and how they got arrested right after the State of the Union. But also we're going to talk about the Democrats as a whole. What are we doing as Republicans not holding them accountable? I love the fact that now we see some Republican in Congress, and again, they love to grandstand, but Mark William Mullen goes after Bernie Sanders. We have Lauren Boebert and Nancy Mace going after Congress. Wait till you hear the numbers of, we talk about the files and list. What about the files and list about the congressmen and what they've hidden and harassment claims? We're going to discuss that story because it's millions of dollars of our money goes to silence all these people that they've had inappropriate relationships with. Whoa, now we're talking. Let's get to the bottom of all this. There's so much that we're going to discuss today, even the fact that churches are burning in Canada and no one's calling attention to it. The movement away from the church, the movement away from normalcy is happening. And I'm scared it's going to cause people to live a little bit different. And then when you talk about AI and crises and chaos, it's only going to get worse for civil unrest. Let's dive into these stories today. This video starts right now. Hey guys, welcome to our channel. Thank you so very much for being here today. If you are new, please go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell. Give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down, that's okay, but let us know what you think about the content of today's video. Our goal is to bring information to make you think, to say, you know what, this is why I should prepare. This is why I should be more sustainable, more independent, because man, this world is crazy and no one is looking out for me like myself and my family. So we're going to talk about that stuff today. Now let's jump into the story. Let's talk about AI first, because there's a few things I want to talk about, and then there's a few things that I want us to hone in on. Anthropic, they've been in the news lately because of their disagreements with the military, and the military is going to sue them. Anthropic's getting out. Basically, the context, though, is Anthropic's, AI has been so prolific that it's been used for a lot of great things and a lot of different avenues with military. We're going to talk about Palantir in the next few weeks, how they helped on Venezuela just like Anthropic did. We're seeing that jets now are having AI capabilities that allows them to detect defense way before the actual pilot sees it. So when you think about that, you're like, well, those things can be used for good. Now, here's where it gets serious. Anthropic's problem or issue is saying, look, we don't want this to be a death squad. We don't want to use AI for that. Well, to be honest with you, that's exactly what most militaries and most national governments are working towards, is they're going to use it for their gain. I mean, come on. Let's go through this story. And this is from Anthropic. He actually, Dario is the CEO, and he is being interviewed by 60 Minutes. He says, Anthropic CEO just stated that AI will not only wipe out every job, the spike of unemployment will hit, of course, 20% in the next 12 months. Not only that, AI will be used for so much more than just taking the jobs of white collar and blue collar. It says this is why you see so many people having this panic mentality, is that it could be used for things that we don't want it used for. Now, if you remember, let's go back to some of the stories dealing with ChatGPT and OpenAI and even Claude, is that they were saying a lot of the engineers were getting blackmailed by AI because they were trying to basically put this new version of it, and AI didn't need the new version. They were trying to stop the new version, so they were going to blackmail the engineers. That's pretty intense. Now I want you to watch this video, and this is the German leader, which is Merz. He's in China. China is showing off what their robotics is doing with a Kung Fu presentation. I want you to watch this and tell me if this is not crazy, because we look at it like, okay, well, they can do, these cool exercises. Think if we multiply that times 100, times 1,000,000. Elon Musk said by next year, there could easily be millions of robotics going along. He said the technology's there. It's just making sure we get the components. Watch this video. Now we think it's kind of funny. We think it's kind of cool. It's like, oh wow, these robots are doing this. Have you ever seen an Amazon hub warehouse where all these AI robots are carrying like 300 or 400 pound packages that people couldn't do? They take 3 or 4 people to do, or on pallets and pallet jacks, and robots are just carrying them around like nothing's the matter. They're working longer shifts because it doesn't matter. There's no like workforce problems. It says right now an AI robotics with the technology of what like Anthropic or Grok or ChatGPT, some of the biggest AI components, they're saying that it could pay for itself even at the cost it's at now that robotics is. It said it could pay for itself within 10 weeks. Now, that's on a job market. Let's go to the defense. AI and the Pentagon is having issues. The AI is trying to get incorporated in the Pentagon, so people like Palantir are joining forces. Daria is saying, look, I don't want mine used for death squads. I don't want this AI used for it. So now it's a war. So when we actually back up and look at the whole picture, what is AI going to be used for? Is it just going to be used to take our jobs? Well, that's going to make more people dependent on the government. But what else is that going to do? How are people going to say, well, that's not going to be a part of our life. We're going to be independent. We don't need the robots. We don't need governments. And, we can grow our own food. Well, all of a sudden, if we have the enforcement wing, it's no longer police. It's no longer people. It's no longer people with hearts. It's robots. And we think that's crazy. But there's a billionaire AI, there's a billionaire magnate that just said, I'm building a bunker on an island. And he said, the reason I'm doing it is, he said, because I see what AI is doing. And I see how people are going to manipulate this and use this for the wrong reasons. Now, if you go back and look, we've talked about this before, but Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Sam Altman, this other guy who's an AI billionaire, you're starting to see some of these people build these bunkers away from humanity, kind of getting away from civilization. You're starting to see more islands purchased. You're starting to see people get away from civilization because what? They may know what's coming. It says that Mark Zuckerberg and Sam Altman have become some of the biggest preppers. In fact, they're billionaires. They could pretty much prep however they want to prep, and you'd be. I mean, their doomsday bunkers or their situation's a whole lot better than ours. But what Anthropic was saying, and what a lot of these other billionaires are saying, these tech people are saying, is that AI could be used for so much, but because humanity and our ill-gotten gains and how we want power and we seek power, it will be used against us. And we won't be able to do anything. Tom Ellsworth from PBD stated this yesterday's video, and I thought it was really good. He said, whoever comes up with the robotic army first, with the AI technology that is out, will pretty much take over every other country. Because there's no military that will be able to force itself to destroy this robotic situation. He said, now you may be able to say, well, it can have a robotic army in a year, but he said, you give it 3-5 years. Humanity will be a subservient of robotics. Elon Musk said this, and he's the one that's probably going to come to the first part of robotics and actually get it to the next level. Mass production. So this is going to be a scary race, and the scary thing is we're racing to actually be controlled. That's what's happening. But I think everybody realizes that if we don't get there, then our enemies will, and they'll use it against us. Sadly, if we get there, then I'm scared that our politicians or our leaders or our humanity who we thought was for us may use it against us as well. I know this is crazy. I always talk about movies, but go back and watch iRobot. That's exactly what happened. Was this company came in to help, but the more that they helped, the more power they got, the more money they got, the more power they sought, and then all of a sudden they built the robot army to where it controlled the population. That's what's going to happen. I'm sorry. That's what's going to happen, because it's going to easily take our jobs, and then all of a sudden it's going to enforce you, because it's going to know everything about you. Because every part of our life now is tied to digital content. Daria says, robots will soon be able to function without any humanity and will become smarter and work harder and provide more knowledge than any human in the world. I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound too good to me. Now, let's go to Congress. Let's go talk about Ilhan Omar, Markwayne Mullin, and some of these other pushes by some of these congressmen. Now, first, let's go to Ilhan Omar's situation at the State of the Union. You know, she was, of course, yelling like a complete buffoon of a third world country while she was at the State of the Union. Very, this, again, third world country-esque. And I don't understand why we put up with it and why we allow this to take place. But here's something that we all were missing in this whole situation. Listen to this. It says, U.S. Capitol Police arrested Ilhan Omar's State of the Union guest after she refused to stop standing and blocking others in the gallery during the Trump speech. This is the same deranged activist arrested in Minneapolis for using her car to block ICE agents' cars on the street to cause problems and mischief for the Trump administration. These people are crazy in the head. No wonder they end up violent. Now, so we have a congressman who is openly taking money and fraud and giving back to Somalia. We have a congressman who is openly against America First. They actually have said that their president is the Somali president. We have a congressman who lives in the most probably hated place right now when it comes to hatred towards Americans and hatred towards Trump in Minneapolis, Minnesota, is who she represents. And then she brings someone who then gets arrested because she's causing problems at the State of the Union. Now, I think we should arrest Ilhan Omar too, because she's the one that brought it. Now, there's also another congressman, a Democrat congressman, that brought an illegal immigrant to the State of the Union. Now, help me understand. See, this right here is what I cannot stand about politics, is that you have one side who hates the president so much that they're willing to harm their own people, willing to not stand up for American people, willing to do more against the American people, all in spite of the other side. So when we talk about the voters' ID, you know, Chuck Schumer said that if we pass the SAVE Act, the Voter Act, he said it would actually take millions off the voter rolls. And it would actually cause for more people to struggle voting. Well, I'll be honest with you. I hope millions would come off the voter rolls, because what we've seen is a lot of people on the voter rolls are either dead or illegal, and we are allowing them to vote. It makes no sense to me. So we should have voter ID. This is an 85 to 90% issue. Even John Thune said, we know it's an 85 to 90% issue, so we need to pass this. Well, you should already passed it, John Thune, and you should not be worried about the filibuster. Get rid of it and pass the bill, because it's gonna help America get to the next points of at least making sure their elections are safe. But you can't trust Congress to do their job. You can't trust it. I mean, here we have literally people bringing State of the Union guests who are disrupting. Well, I mean, do we really want violence? Do we want people yelling at the State of the Union? Does that show representation of a good America, a strong America? Or does it look like we're just another third world country like she was imported from? Now, a few more stories with Congress. Markwayne Mullin. I thought, again, I'm not the biggest Markwayne Mullin fan. I actually have friends in Oklahoma, and I'm like, what are you doing with Langford and Mullin? But there was one thing that he did say I thought that was really good. He kind of called Bernie Sanders out for some of the antics that he's done and complaining about what Trump is doing. And he said, you've had all this time to do it, and all you've done is sit here and complain. What have you done for all this time? So here's exactly how the exchange went. This is from Eric Doherty. It says, Senator Markwayne Mullin just pummeled Bernie Sanders to his face. Bernie was stunned. It says, I ran it too long. Sanders said, yes, you did. Mullin said, I'm sorry. I didn't ask for your opinion. If I cared, I'd asked you. But I don't care about your opinion. You are part of the system. You're part of the problem. You've been sitting here. He's talking about Bernie Sanders being in Congress longer than I've been alive. This is your problem when it comes to health care. You should have fixed this a long time ago. You've been running on it, talking about it, and what have you done your whole life? Now, I love hearing this because what he's trying to do is prove the point that Bernie Sanders is complaining about health care. And he's been in Congress longer than this senator has been alive on the earth. And he's still complaining about it while he's getting filthy rich off you. So this is why I go back to say, I love what Markwayne Mullin's doing, but I don't want to just hear talks like this. I don't want to just see congressmen standing up or senators standing up. I want them to actually do something and make it happen. J.D. Vance came out this week and stated, and I'm going to read this again because I want to make sure that we have accurate amounts of information here. This is from J.D. Vance. He almost left everybody speechless in the room because he was with HHS representation and Dr. Osby. He says this. He said, he said the amount of healthcare fraud that's being committed by the Democrats for illegals in these states that has not been allocated right, and they have not been audited, and they will not let the federal government audit, is over $300 billion. So the taxpayers are getting robbed blind, and yet no one is doing anything about it. Now, he calls them out. I love the fact that Markwayne Mullin called out Bernie Sanders. I love the fact that we are arresting people with Ilhan Omar. But the problem remains is we're still not solving the problem. We're grandstanding, but we're not actually bringing people to justice. Again, we talk about the files and lists, but what about the fact that our congressmen are getting away with things and yet we're not doing anything about it? Ilhan Omar, you can't go in 4 years from under $1 million worth to $30 million worth of worth when you only make $150,000 a year. It's not mathing. I mean, that's $150,000 if she saved every penny and then got a few bonuses. She would literally only have around $600,000-$700,000 when it's all said and done. How in the world is she worth $30 million? How in the world is she worth $30 million when there's no winery that she says that she has? There's no grapes. There's no winery. So it's the same way. We see the fraud, but yet we do nothing about it. And it makes me upset. Now, this brings me to another point with Congress. Nancy Mason, Lauren Boebert. Lauren Boebert was just interviewed. And I love what they're doing here because we don't realize it. I'm going to bring numbers to prove what I'm talking about here that was just uncovered. So Lauren Boebert was just interviewed and she said, I believe if we're talking about releasing names of everything that we're talking about with lists and all that dealing with Epstein, he said, but why don't we release the Congress names of the ones that have misconduct that we've had settlements for that we've hidden for all these years? She says there's millions of dollars that we've paid to all these people that's been compromised and harmed by our own congressmen and Senate, and you're paying for it. So while they're standing up there saying, please give me the names of the list and files, I agree, we should have those too. But what about the Congress and Senate and the antics they've done? Here's the numbers. I pulled the numbers. This is government log, so it could even be more than this. The total amount of taxpayers paid for harassment claims and settlement claims dealing with sexual harassment, discrimination, and workplace issues dealing with the Senate and Congress leaders is anywhere from $17 to $18.2 million paid out. That's just from 1997 when they really started keeping up with it. It said that most people are getting discriminated against dealing with how they become harassed by the congressman, congresswoman, senator, or so forth. Now, shouldn't we know that? Now, everybody's going over Tony Gonzalez, and he's a worthless person, and he should resign because of his situation with in Texas, and Brandon Herrera should easily get that seat. But he's just one. You know, when we start exposing all of this, and we start talking about this, this is when you actually start draining the swamp. But until you do this, and this is what I believe that Trump from 2017, if you go back and look at him talking 2016, 2017 against Jeb Bush and all them, I think he really desired to drain the swamp. I think he realizes it's way too big to drain. You can't get to the plug to drain it. That's the sad part. The only thing that's going to bring light to it and expose it and drain it is the American people started getting knowledge of it. Get a little leak here, a little leak here, a little leak here, a little exposure here, and then all of a sudden you start realizing all these people are not in it for you. They're in it for themselves. The Ilhan Omars, the Tony Gonzalez's. I mean, this is R's and D's now. So I love that Nancy Mace or Lauren Boebert or Markwayne Mullin are calling these people out, but I don't want just grandstanding. I want action. Where in the world is the DOJ? Where in the world is the congressional hearings that actually do something? Where in the world are the votes that actually benefit Americans? That's a problem. A story I'll bring up. What is going on in Canada? I want you to look at this map, and this is just a simple map right here. This is a map of 120 plus churches across Canada that has just randomly burned down in the last 4 years. Now, do you think that's just a coincidence? No other synagogue, house of worship, no other community center, no other civic organization has had 120 fires in over 4 years anywhere else in the world, except for places like Africa and the Middle East, where they have openly persecuting Christians. It says that Canada has had allegedly 120 plus churches burned down in the last 4 years. It says what we're realizing in Canada is the war on Christianity is happening, and it's making it where if you're a Christian, persecution is coming, especially in Canada. No more open streets, no more giving tracts out, and now they're taking the houses of worship out. Do you realize how close we are to that? One socialist leader, Mark Carney, is that. But one more. You had Trudeau and Carney. Carney was a whole lot worse when it comes to globalist push and agendas than what Trudeau was. But we're just one person away from that. Biden, Obama, yeah, those were bad, but what if all of a sudden we get the Newsom, the AOC? What if we get that? The Mamdani light. Now, Mamdani can't be president. He wasn't born here, but shoot, you never know. They might make a policy to let him be president. I don't know. But what I'm saying is, if we get that kind of leadership, you'll have the same thing happening here. Let's go back to what the AI warning was at the very beginning. When AI starts taking everyone's jobs, civil unrest is going to go crazy. People are going to go nuts in these cities because they're going to have no means of money and help. And so theft, thievery, and civil unrest is going to take place. You have the people that are over AI telling you that. Why do you think they're building the bunkers and trying to get away from civilization? Most of them are buying big retreats with thousands of acres and almost building like these moats and these situations to keep themselves safe because they see the writing on the wall. Now for you, everybody's saying this is going to happen this year. This kind of mentality of AI taking over. The fact that the risk, I mean, what if we lose the midterms? How serious is that going to be? All that takes place this year. The first question I ask you is, could you be more independent if you had to be before the end of the year? I'm challenging you to become more independent, more sustainable. Provide yourself some food, provide yourself some means, provide yourself some safety nets, because I think you're going to need them very, very soon. Guys, let me know your thoughts on today's video. God bless.